Right, here we go then. Welcome along to part 8 of this beginning Blender series. So we're slowly getting through this 12-part series now. And just to let you know, the last 3 parts, part 10, 11 and 12, we're going to put everything together what we've learnt and put a little project together. Model, rig and animate a couple of characters and put a scene together. Bit of animation, rigging and stuff. So we got one more part after this, then we'll get on to the final project. But this part here is going to be an introduction to materials and shading. And another important concept really in the pipeline. And like I always say, you have to stick to the pipeline with 3D. Don't skip steps. Because if you skip stuff, you have to go back and fix it or it comes back to bite you. So yeah, part 8, materials and shading. And what are materials? Well, basically it's another kind of texturing workflow. We apply colour and other attributes to a mesh. We'll just look into base colour to start with, but we are going to go deeper into this with other attributes such as metallic, roughness, alpha, emission. But let's start simple with the base colour. So, if you remember in previous lessons, I've got my screencast keys. There's my Epic pen. Let's just put that there. So, if you look in this properties tab, there. Let's stick to what we had before, yellow. There's your material properties. And that's in your properties panel, which is a very, very important editor panel, that. So, there's your material properties. And what we get is something called a principled BSDF. And you can see the different settings in there. You've got the surface, which is your principled BSDF, your base colour, metallic, roughness, IOR, which means index of refraction, alpha, normal, various other settings, transmission, specular, coat. So that, very important panel, that principled BSDF. And this principled BSDF shade is based on Disney's render system, actually. The way Pixar and Disney and Industrial Light and Magic set up materials and render stuff. Yeah. No word of a lie, based on Disney's render setup there. And we can see these materials in this view here. But the best way to access and set up your materials, you can use that obviously, I use both. But if you go into shading there, and I like to right click there, close that area. And if you right click again and close area, a lot cleaner, like that. Always like to have wireframe. We'll have to move the position of the lights in a bit. Let's just turn that light and camera off for now. So we've gone into the shader editor there, and we can see the principled BSDF, can't we, there? Which is what we see in the material editor there. Principled BSDF shader. And this is a good way of adding your materials, you know. You can see this is referred to as a node editor. You can see there, nodes, or the shader editor. So let's explore some of the materials on offer then in Blender. So we can generate a lot of stuff. Let's add a few meshes here. Let's go back into layout for a minute. Let's just go into add mesh. Let's add a plane. Let's move that plane up there. Let's rotate that. You can type in, remember, in the boxes. There. Move that along. Just move that up. If you hit 1, Control A, all transforms to deltas. Let's add a mesh. Let's add a UV sphere. Let's move that to there. Let's Control A, all transforms to delta. Let's give it a bit more room there. Select all three. Remember, when you're working with meshes and objects, always Control A, all transforms. Just have a little sip of my tea. So we've got our 3 meshes. It's Shift D, it's Shift D that. Just so we got another one to show a few more. If we go into material, what we're going to have to do now is going to have to adjust our. Let's just adjust our light and camera for now. We're not going to go deeply into rendering or lighting. That's in the next lesson. Let's just point that light. Let's add that. Let's have that as an area light. I think we'll just keep that there for now. Area light. I'll give it a bit of an angle. Then the camera. Let's move that along there. Rotate the camera. There. We got all our objects in view there, so we can see the materials. We will texture a bit of the Minecraft character with some materials at the end. I just want to show you the basics. Let's hide that camera. Let's hide that light for now. Let's go back into the shader editor. And what we can do then in the shader editor, if we hit Shift A, we can also put add there, but a lot of people, including myself, Shift A. Brings up a load of input or output nodes here, colour, converter. So for example, if you go to texture, brick texture, and you go yellow to yellow, you can see there we've got a brick texture on that cube. But let's undo that, because remember, you've got to unwrap it properly. We always miss that step. So let's go to edit mode, A to select all, U unwrap, cube projection. Let's go to that one, edit mode, A to select all, U unwrap, cube projection. The sphere, we go to edit, A to select all, U unwrap, sphere projection. Go back to our shader, and what we'll do, we'll select this plane, and if you can't see anything there, you hit the plane, new. Yep, so undo that. We'll assign a new material if you're in a shader editor. Hit new. And that will default to a principled BSDF. So on that plane, let's go to Shift A, texture, brick texture. You want to go, in general, you want to go yellow to yellow. It's not always the case, but in general, you want to plug the same colour node into the same colour. So if we drag and colour, simply drag and go into base colour. You'll see now we've got a brick texture on that plane. Oh, just bear with me a second. I think my Bandicam's playing up here. Hang on. Oh, let me just check my Bandicam. The figures are going a bit on here. Hang on a sec. Well, I'm just going to go with it. Well, I'm running quite low on space on my computer here, so I'll carry on and just check this Bandicam time again in a few minutes just to check it's progressing. So, sorry about that. Yeah, so we've assigned this brick texture then. And you can see there in the properties, you've got a colour, for example. You can simply change that brick colour to something more that resembles brick, for example. And the mortar colour, if you select your picker there and make that darker, and that resembles brick more, doesn't it? And that's just simply by changing the colours. So there's your brick texture. So that's a very simple way of adding a brick texture. Let's select this cube. Let's delete that. We've got the cube now. Let's hit Shift I, colour, texture. Let's try a gradient texture. So, colour again, it's a base colour. You can see these two cubes are sharing the same material, so let's just have the one. We'll assign another one to the other cube. So we've got a gradient texture there. You can have different levels of gradient. Have it diagonally, spherical, which is suit a sphere better, radial, linear. If you control and right click and drag, you can cut that. So you've cut the gradient. So let's go to Shift I and try the checker texture. Colour to base colour. Now you can see because we unwrapped it as a cube projection, we've got a checker texture there on it. Again, that's like a drafts board or something, isn't it? Checker texture, right click, cut, Shift I, texture, Voronoi. I like this texture here. So colour to base colour. It's like a strange sort of kaleidoscope kind of texture, that. So we just control middle click to zoom in and out of our shader editor there. And what you can do, if you click on there and press Control T, you bring up a mapping node there. You've got to remember, I've got it enabled already. If it's not, if you press Control T and that doesn't come up, you have to go to Edit Preferences, Add-ons, search for the Node Wrangler, and just click the checkbox to enable it. So that's known as the Node Wrangler, that is. So there's your Voronoi texture. And then, because you've got your, just adjust this mic. Because you've got your mapping coordinates, if you go to scale, you can change the scale there. And that's true with all textures. Very useful. So let's cut that for now. Let's just show a couple more. Let's move that over here. Let's go to Shift A, texture, noise texture, colour to colour. And that's added like a noise to the mesh, that has. That's the shadow from the other cube. So yeah, that's like a noise. Cut that one. Let's go to Shift A, texture. Let's try magic texture. So, colour to colour. There's a magic texture. It's got a scale attribute in there, so you can adjust the scale. Or as I say, if you press Ctrl T, it'll bring up your mapping coordinates again. Mapping node. You can simply press delete. If you want to delete that magic text, just hit delete on your keyboard. So a few other things you could do. What we'll do there, just so we've got something on it, we'll go to Shift A, input RGB, and an RGB, remember colour to colour again, that just simply gives you a red, green, blue colour. So it's a different way of, you've got your base colour there which you can adjust. But that just gives you a different way of controlling it by plugging an RGB node in. So let's just have that as blue. We've got a bit of colour on it. Let's go back to this one. And there's different ways of changing colours on meshes. Different ways of manipulating things. You know, you can simply just plug in an RGB, move that around to adjust the colour. There's a lot of different ways of manipulating these meshes and materials in this node editor. So let's have a little look into that. Let's just set that to, I don't know, let's just set it to blue for now. Click that one. Let's have a sip of drink. So we had a gradient texture, didn't we there? It can get a bit complicated, this node editor can. It's best just to take it steady with it. So if we had a gradient texture, we plugged into the base colour, there's our gradient. But we can do other stuff. So if we put Shift A and we go to Converter, for example, and a colour ramp, there's your colour ramp. If you drag that in between onto the line, it'll cut into that. And you've now created your gradient texture is going into your principal BSDF, but in between that, you've got a node going into there, then your node going out, so another input and output basically. And what you can do here, you can change the colour. So if you bring that up to around there, click this tab there. Let's go for blue there. If you click this tab here, let's go for say yellow. You can slide this say to there. Let's have it bang on of 0.5. If you slide that to there, say 0.5 in. It's got to be 0.1, just slightly above it. So you've created like a gradient texture there, but you've manipulated this node to create, say like that's like the Ukraine flag, that is, isn't it? So yeah, you've got the gradient, but it's more kind of linear now, isn't it? Because you bring that back down there, it blends more. So that's a colour ramp, and that's used a lot, the colour ramp is in Blender. And I'll show you another way how to use a colour ramp in a bit. So we go back to this one. As I say, you can adjust the colour on that. Let's have a look at the sphere. Let's click new. We've got something on there. And let's just go through all of the different Shift A settings, as it were. So Shift A, input. A lot of different settings here. We showed you the RGB. You've got a colour attribute. That's used, I think I've shown you that in a previous lesson. You can, if you've actually painted some like vertex paint or texture paint, it gives you an attribute in your materials and you can plug it in that way. But there's no colour on it for now, but that's how that's used. An ambient occlusion. That sort of gives you shadows, that does. But what you'd have to do to see those really is if let's just go into see-through mode and let's just select say those three. And if we right click extrude along normals, yeah, like that. Go back to object mode and shading. Let's add subdivision surface 2. We've got a bit of a groove, haven't we, there now? So if we plugged in an ambient occlusion, I believe it'll give you a bit more shadow data or lightness data with ambient occlusion. It's based on geometry really, there's not really much to show on that. It's based on shadows and ambient occlusion is. Give you more shadow data. Your output, that is basically this, your material output. You've got your inputs and outputs. Shift A again, colour. So what you could do if you've got Shift A input, let's just add a simple RGB for now. Like that red. Shift A. So your colour node, you might want to bump the brightness up, for example, on that. So again, go in between there, click. You've created another node. Then you can adjust the brightness. So you've got it as red. You might want it a bit brighter. You can simply drag to manipulate that to make it brighter, darker. You might want to make the contrast different. Contrast up, contrast down. So these yellowish colour nodes, simply delete to take it back. They're a way of manipulating. So for example, hue saturation. So your hue saturation, obviously, a bit like Photoshop, you're just changing the hue, the colour. More saturation to it, less saturation, value. So simply delete. Shift I, colour, gamma again. Just changing the gamma value. Brighter, darker. Hit delete and you have to plug that back in. So that's your colour. More of a manipulator, really. Converter. The colour ramp really is the most used for that. I think separate XYZ is used sometimes when you plug in normal maps and stuff, but by far the most popular is colour ramp. Shader. So you've got your principled BSDF shader there. But if you go to glass, for example, and cut that, move that to there, BSDF to surface. Now that's give you a glass shader there now. Right click and shade smooth. Glass. Let's add mesh. Sphere again. So to bring up your tools. Right click shade smooth. Pre-select both of those. Control L. Link materials, is that correct? Or we can just, that material was material 004. Let's go to material 004, which shares it. And that's a glass shader there now. Let's cut that. Shift I, shader. Emission. Emission into surface. That gives you light. That does emission. Emits light. So you've got different shaders available. As I say, by far the most popular is the BSDF. But don't underestimate these other ones as well. Glass, emission, sheen, metallic. Cut that, plug that into surface. That gives you a metallic feel. We'll go into that in a bit. Roughness. That's like a metallic, really shiny surface. Let's just go back to the... As I say, it can get a bit messy sometimes when you're signing a lot of these. So BSDF, let's just move these over to there. So if we shift A, so yeah, a lot of different shaders available. Texture, we had a little look into them. An image texture is something you might have created, for example, in Photoshop or Substance Painter for your image texture, which we explored in the last lesson. That's simply opening a file up. There, open. Or you can click new. Or just call it texture. 1K. Set that to blue. Can't remember what mesh was on there. Let's just show that again. So texture, image texture. Let's just have it as texture. Set it to green. New image. Colour to base colour. And there's your green. So that's just an image texture. You can just click the folder if you want to open texture up you've created. So that's the very basic outline of applying materials to your meshes. But let's explore a little bit further into this. So, Shift A, let's assign, let's just go for my favourite one, Verona for now, base colour. So, that's the simple base colour. But what about if you wanted to add a bit of bump, for example, onto that? There's a few ways you can do that. If we Control T to create ourselves a texture node, like I say, it can get a bit messy, this window there. Here's our texture node. If we Control C and Control V to create another Voronoi texture, and then vector to vector, so this coordinates here, controlling both the base colour and the bump it's going to be. So vector, bump, normal goes to normal. Now watch the surface now on this. You want to go colour to height, which, as I said, in general, you'll go blue to blue, or you'll go yellow to yellow. That's what it is in general. But sometimes you'll go yellow to grey. So the Voronoi texture's colour is being plugged into the height. They're sharing the same coordinates. So it's creating a bump. And you can see that there. See that bump that's being created on the whole of the, by adjusting the strength, just by dragging. Excuse me. You've created a bump there. And these blue nodes are known as displacement nodes, I believe. And you get a lot of normal maps or displacement maps used. Another way people use that is you can drag from your colour to a colour ramp, which goes to the FAC. Then again, you'll have to create your bump, which goes into your normal, colour into height. And that's another way people create bump maps, for example. The colour is sharing the base colour and the bump. And the colour ramp, black and white. So your colour is becoming black and white. It's going into your colour ramp, which, as I say, black and white, bump into normal. You can use your strength again. And generally, I put this in the PDF, but a lot of these maps, such as roughness, metallic, they're based on 0 to 1. 0 being black, 1 being white. So, if for example you're on roughness, if the value is 1, which is white, it'll be fully rough. So on a roughness map, fully rough means matte. That was black, for example. It'd be fully unrough, which means it'd be specular. As I say, I put this in the PDF as well. That's, and an in-between value of grey, which is 0.5, it'd be in between. So that's strength there. Is in between. I know we're not on roughness, but it's the same concept. That'd be grey, 0.5. And that's how these maps work. They're based on a black and white value. It's not colour. So it hasn't got to share that. So what you can do, if you select that and hit delete, and we'll go to Shift A, let's add noise texture. Colour into height. Or is it? Got a feeling it's. Yeah. It's not colour that time, it is actually grey into grey for your noise. You can adjust your strength. So now this bump has got noise on it. So that's displacing surface there. So you've got your base colour as a Voronoi. You've got your normal bump as a noise to displace the surface. So let's cut that. Let's cut that. Move this over there. And let's go to Shift A. Let's add. What can we add? Just add a noise texture. So colour to colour. There's your noise. Drag from your colour to a colour ramp to convert it to black and white. You can use that bump node that we already created. Like I say, it can get messy. Keep saying that, but it does. colour into your height, normal into your normal. And let's Control T. Cut that because we've done it wrong. We gotta go colour into height, put it into distance there. You can now see that we've got our mapping node and a noise texture. The colour of this noise texture is going into base colour. The colour there is being converted to black and white, into your height and into your normal. Strength is a displacement. So that's how you can add bump to your surface of a mesh, that is. That's how you add some bump. What we want to do now is explore a few more of these settings in the principled BSDF shader. So you've got our Ukrainian flag cube there. So what do these other values do? Well, metallic is the metalness of an object. Naught means it's not metallic at all. 1 is fully metallic. Roughness is the amount of shine on an object. So that's fully rough. It'll be more of a matte finish. You know, like you see the matte cars, they're quite dull. That means they're fully rough. It's fully unrough. Means it's reflective, specular, fully specular, like glass. It's got a roughness value of 0. In between is 0.5. I think generally skin's about something like 0.65. So yeah, index IOR, index of refraction. That's the way light bends. That is. I think 1.5 is glass. IOR. Index of refraction. I believe the value of 1.5 is for glass. The way light bends through something. Alpha. So that's decreasing the opacity. It's naught. You won't be able to see it at all. 0.2, you can see 20% of it. 1, fully opaque. Then you've got your normal map, which is, it's pretty much like a bump. So Shift A, it's a vector. Bump, displacement and normal, the main ones you'll use. Normal map, as I say, is created in ZBrush, Substance Painter, things like that. It's for detail, really, a normal map. Used in games a lot. And you simply plug that in to your normal map. Yeah. Diffuse again, just changes the value a bit. Subsurface that's the way light sort of scatters. SSS. Subsurface, known as SSS, just the way light scatters. Like our ears on a human, you can see light, just the skin's thin. Again, it's based on a value of 0 to 1. Like most of the maps. Specular. Way of giving you more specular. Transmission. There you go, just changing the value again. Coat. I think that's to do with a little bit of shine. Around there, shininess, kind of manipulating the roughness a little bit. Coat. Sheen. A lot of this is available in the Blender manual online, but sheen is kind of I think it's a way of edges, like adding some sheen to the edges. Emission is light. So you can see that you set that to 20. Emission is casting light onto this cube here. Emitting light. And the main ones you'll be using, the main ones I've used over the years: base colour, metallic, roughness, alpha, subsurface, and emission. You may touch upon these: diffuse, specular, transmission, coat, and sheen. But by far, the most ones you'll use are these 6. Base, metallic, roughness, alpha, subsurface, and emission. Subsurface, mainly human skin. Subsurface. But yeah, let's knock that back down to, I think the default is 0 for emission, isn't it? So that's a very basic introduction to materials and shading in Blender. This is your shader editor. Shift A is how you add your different input nodes and textures. Another note: world. Main 2 use is object, which is your mesh, or world. And your world is just the background colour of your render screen, basically your world. You can change the strength. So yeah, that's the way of changing the colour of the world, basically. Let's just leave it at blue for now. So what we're going to do now, we'll get our Minecraft character in. We'll start assigning a few materials to him. Let's just hide all this for now, we don't need this. So let's go to File, Append, Minecraft character. And then we can see the character we created in earlier lessons. I've just added a little bit to this. I've just added the hair by selecting the faces, extruding, and just adding a solidify modifier. Created a basic sword, box modelling, add, mesh, cube, and just moving the vertices around. And then just added some edge loops, basically. Just added some edge loops. So I've done a little bit of polishing on the character from the previous lesson, but it was nothing complex. Just a bit of extruding edge loops and modelled a basic sword. So there's our character, Alex, all named. Let's hide the rig. And let's start signing some material. So let's go to material, head, new. Let's name that ginger hair. Let's go into base colour. Just select a gingerish kind of colour. I like that. So that's the hair material. Now we need a skin. So if we click new, name it, I don't know, Alex skin. Let's choose a base colour. Something along the lines of something like that. Maybe a little bit darker. So that's the basic skin. But what we need to do now is add the green and the white to the eyes. So what you can do for that, if you go into edit mode, see that wasn't available there when I went into edit mode. If you hit Alt H, it means you've hit Summit previously. H or Alt H hides faces. So what we'll do, we'll go into face mode. First of all, let's if you click this plus button here and click new, you can go to eye white. So we're in face mode. If we select that face and that face, make sure you're on eye white, assign. You've got your white there. We click plus again and go to new. Go to eye green. Get a green colour. Got green eyes, so greenish colour there. Select these faces again. Assign. Make sure you're on eye green. There's his green eyes. And we also need mouth, which is going to be a pinky colour. Select the face, make sure you're on mouth, assign. So that's the basic material for the head there. And I believe that the loop was 99 in the previous lesson. You see the keyframes. So there's the basic hair, eyes, mouth and skin. This skin feels a bit maybe more like that. So yeah, that's the basic head material. So we need the arms now. So let's go to new. Let's say arm, screen, right. It's a kind of green. So sort of, I don't know, greeny yellow, is he? What colour? Let's just go for that for now. But then we need to click plus again. We need to go call it arm, screen right, dark green. I'm sure there's better naming conventions here, but as long as it's named. So we need to go into edit mode. If we go into modifiers and click these two, there, it'll stay in place. So those two there. Back to materials. So if we select these faces, we go to the dark green. Let's select that green, then make it darker, then click assign. Then we need our skin for the arms. So what we can do, we'll call that arm skin, colour picker, use that. Make sure you're on arm skin and you've got your faces selected. Select all your faces. There's a few here to select as well. You can isolate that arm as well to make it easier. Arm skin, assign. There's our arm. Now we need material for the body. So, same sort of green, I believe. Let's go to new. Name that body green. We select our picker there. Select that green colour. It'll be the same as the arm. But he's got like a, we're going to, what we'll need for this body is body dark green. It's going to base colour picker. We want that green colour. Then we want to go to edit mode. There, get it back into place. I think it's something like this. Something like that. Not perfect, but we'll choose those for now. Let's just put it around there as well. Some faces missing there. Oh. I have to look into that. Maybe there's a shape key still on the back, but you can't see it anyway. But this is a thing with 3D. You always come up with there's always little things that niggling that need fixing. Believe me, always. But there's our collar bit. So there's a dark green. If we go to assign, there you go. Slightly. That looks slightly bigger to me there. So we're going to have to go into edit mode. Edge. Select loops. Edge loops. Let's move that over a bit so it's the same size. Then we also want, we stay in face mode. Select these faces here. Select all these faces. You get them all. Yep. Dark green, assign. There's his belt. And that is basically how you go about assigning materials to certain faces and meshes. So we also need some body skin there as well. We want to be in edit mode. Face, 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 face. Let's just hide the head. Not worried about the back. Body skin. We'll go to assign. Then we want this body skin to be the same colour as the skin. So there's our head, body, and arm. And we need to do the same thing on the legs. So I'll do the one leg, then I'll come back with it finished using the same method that we've used. So let's do this last leg here. Looks like he's got sort of a brown, isn't it? Make it darker there. Quite a dark brown, isn't it? That? Maybe not quite that dark, but something like that, say. It looks like the bottom is a kind of, remember to put your cage on. Back into your material. Plus, new. Leg brown. Darker. Oh, it's not actually brown, is it? It's I've got some reference on my other monitor. I don't want to show it for copyright reasons. It's obviously the Alex character from Minecraft. So looks like he's a dark grey. So let's go into see-through mode and select all these faces here. Face there. Make sure you're on leg grain and click assign. It's kind of like that, isn't it? He's also got leg darker grey. So if we select our picker, select that colour, make that darker, go into edit mode. It looks like maybe these faces around here are darker, missed that one. And not 100% correct, but let's just assign this is dark grey, assign there as well, so it's a little bit little bit different. I assign that one as well. I think we'll just assign it around here as well. Click assign. The dark grey, assign. We're going to object mode. Looks like there's some dark brown as well though, isn't there? So we're going to have to go to plus the leg, dark brown. We'll select this brown, make it darker, into edit mode. It's kind of like these around here. Don't know if it goes all round, so I haven't got an all round reference, but we'll just do it like that, I think. Maybe something like that. And then make sure you're on leg dark brown, assign. Leg dark brown, maybe that was too dark. Assign. Still maybe a bit dark, no? Leg dark brown, assign. It's a bit better. Maybe a bit darker actually. Yeah, so got some materials. Yeah, let's switch off wireframe. I think that should be a bit dark. It seems a bit shitty in colour to me. No, not quite right. Make that darker. It looks like we missed. So I like to always have my wireframe on. Looks like we missed one there, which was the darker grey. Let's click assign. So you just have to do that really for the other arm and leg. And for the sword. So what we can do for the sword, let's go to sword. I think overall it's a kind of dark grey black kind of colour, isn't it? Maybe a hint of blue. And then plus new sword lighter. Save that as we crash. Sword lighter picker. Use that. Then let's have it nice and kind of a light grey. So edit mode. Select the faces. Boom. Easy when you come out of transparent mode to see. Sword light, assign. It's not 100% correct to the reference, but this is just more of a style to show you how to do stuff. So I think what we'll do, we go to picker again, choose that, and go to sword white. And what we'll do in the last lesson is maybe have these with some light, kind of the light will go on and off, kind of an emissive kind of thing. Let's just assign it like that for now. Make that a bit lighter like that so we can see the contrast. I think we may want. It is a bit darker there, but I'm not going over the top on this. Let's just select these faces round here. I think we'll go to sword lighter. don't like it going all the way around there. So let's just select those and go to sword. Seems a bit better. Knock off wireframe. And there he is, blinking and waving. I'll have the sword lighting up a little bit. I think I prefer this if you miss. Maybe miss that. Miss that. Have it something like that. And maybe you could just have these edges as sword white and they could light up. So I'm going to just finish off the rest of the textures and I'll fade back in a minute when they're done. You just follow the same procedure what we've done really so far. You could maybe try the shader editor as well. For example, you select that arm and go into your shading, go into object, click new, do Shift A and go to an input RGB base colour. You could do it that way as well. So I'll bring you back in a minute when I've assigned the other textures, materials to the arm and leg. Yeah, so I've assigned the other material to the arm there. I'll just bring you back here to show you another method of what you can do. You can select the faces that you want, for example, say these. And here. That one. Click plus and go to new. If you go to this drop down here, it gives you a list of the materials you've previously created. I believe that we want leg darker grey. Just remember to click assign. So you can select it from this drop down menu here. That's correct, darker grey. Yeah. Darker grey. I think it's because the light's hitting it a bit there, that's why it looks a bit lighter than the other one. So we want that for these faces here as well. So if you select these faces, we've already got it, but I'll show you again. You click the plus and then go to new and then select it from the drop down. So leg darker grey. Remember to click assign and you've assigned it then. So that's another way of, if you've already created a material, you can reassign it. I just wanted to show a couple of methods. So let's go into object mode. And that looks like the whole of the character is textured. Not sure what was happening back here. I don't know if there's a shape. Is there a shape key still on it? If we go to data prop, no shape key. Put it onto the cage. Let's just tidy that up. Just bugging me now. I'm not sure what. This can happen sometimes when you've not deleted a shape key. This can sometimes happen. If we select. Oh, sorry, I've got a solidify modifier, haven't I? Let's just move that. We're not going to see it anyway, but I'd rather just tidy it up so it's not as messy. this kind of thing happens in 3D. It comes back to bite you sometimes if you've made a mistake, always. And the worst part is if you're working in a game engine, you have to come back into the software. So much back and forth at times, but that'll do. Yeah, that's fine. We're only going to render it, I think, from the front anyway. So let's go into object mode, Control S to save. And there's our Minecraft code. I don't know what this circle is. Let's delete that. No wireframe. And there's Alex. Let's make this hair a bit darker, I think. This arm. I will just leave that for now, it's fine. I think maybe just the skin would be a bit. I think we're okay, aren't we there? We'll try and have those lights up a little bit. Maybe put a bit of emission on this sword. Doesn't look great, but it's not an exact replica of a Minecraft sword. But resembles it a bit. I wasn't going for perfection. I'm just doing it to show you how you go about stuff. But I don't like that edge bit there. So I think we'll leave it like that. So yeah, that's how you go about adding your materials. And then if we go into our shader, we haven't plugged any maps in there. You don't always have to if you're keeping things simple. But what you can do is you can see that, let's select the head. As I explained earlier, look, the roughness. If that roughness is 0, it's like he's got a glass head. If you increase the metallic, it's like his head's made of metal. And you can decrease the roughness and it's metal. Very shiny metal. So that's how you go about simple manipulation of your different BSDF values alpha. So he hasn't got a head at all now because it's set to 0. Come up a bit. He's got like a see-through head. Can add some transmission. Make it darker. Things like that. I mean, if you add an emission strength, his head will light up. So what we'll try and do on the sword, we'll have these light up a bit and go on and off. So yeah, that's the basics of materials there. And obviously if you've got your materials open there, you select your different ones, they'll also appear in the shader editor. So you can manipulate them in your properties or your shader editor. Just simply select your mesh. You can adjust stuff. So if you want the body, as I say, shinier. Roughness. Oh yeah, there you go, that's your intro to materials. So what we're going to look into in the next lesson is I'll probably add some materials to R2 as well and explain that. Then we'll look into lighting and rendering in the next lesson. So it's goodbye from me. It's goodbye from Alex. So see you in the next one, guys. Cheers.